In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. Today we have another episode on fantastic, mind-blowing custom toys. And we even have a little surprise at the end. A little surprise for you, Mike.
Surprise? I love a surprise. Nobody sends me crap.
Surprise.
Keith gets toys in the mail. I just have to wait for Keith to maybe humor me with a surprise.
Well, you know what? I have a surprise of a toy for you.
What?
So I know it's pretty exciting. Stick around to the end. I might have gotten a little care package that has
my goodness.
Just a little thing for you that came out of your little mind, and it's going. It now is manifested into existence. So lots of fun stuff. So Mike, if somebody would like to reach out to us and manifest something else from your brain, how would they do that?
Oh, we do it old school, folks. Email. Send us one at lookatmystartrektoys@gmail.com. You can send us questions, comments, praise, not praise. Send pictures of your displays, your customs. We, as you know, if you're just new to the channel, we don't just look at Keith's old toys, though we do that on occasion. We look at people's customs, like today. We look at play sets that have been sent to us. We look at displays in creative ways that you have sent to us. So send us anything you want in the email. You can also just comment down on the YouTube. Great conversations and introductions and people meeting in our comment section. So keep that coming. And here's what you can do for us as a favor while you're at it. Down below, a little bell icon. You can like, and then you can also subscribe to the channel. What that does is it lets you know when we post a new video, but more importantly, it tricks the computers to making us seem important so that maybe we can spread our message of love into the Trekiverse. Did any of that make sense?
Not at all. And I think important is a stretch. Love is not. I don't know if it's shining through, but yeah, we're also on Instagram at Star Trek Toys, so you can find us there as well. So I'm very excited this week because we have some more amazing customs from some of our favorite designers. And so last week we saw some Lower Decks figures from Matt Rudawsky, and I'm sure you're watching it like, those are amazing, but where's the main cast? It's the Lower Decks. We saw the bridge crew, but where's the Lower Decks, folks? And I'll tell you where they are. They're right here in space, in the middle of nowhere. Let's do it. Oh, look at that. Mike's getting too fancy on this stuff. So here,
do you smell that? That's my computer melting.
It's something melting at least. Yeah. So here we are with our main cast from Lower Decks. Now, again, so Matt is a professional artist and is just starting to get into the world of sculpting. So this is Ensign Boimler, Ensign Beckett Mariner, Ensign Devana Tendi, and Ensign Samanthan Rutherford. Here, the main four cast members represented here in physical form for the first time ever, because I said last week, Playmates has not made any Lower Decks toys. They have not announced any Lower Decks toys. So if you want a Lower Decks figure, this is it. This is what you can get. And so what Matt did here, he adapted, as he said, primarily from Generations figures. You can tell by the lack of articulation, but also because they gave him a good head start on the uniforms, because the uniforms on Lower Decks are somewhat adaptations of the unused uniforms from Star Trek Generations. But here we are, custom molded, custom painted on top of that with our main cast. Again, just stunning work to be able to represent the animated look on figures not based on non-animated toys. Just some really interesting and remarkable detail work here. You can see if you look at Mariner's arms, she's got her sleeves rolled up. That's not a figure mold. That's custom molded on top of that to represent that, as well as I'm assuming some sort of a sanding down because the sleeves went down to the elbow, and having to basically reshape the original model there.
Well, and a really cool, we toss around the word artistry a bunch here on the show, but these are also, Keith and I both do design work for in different ways. Keith, a lot of graphic design, whereas I work on instructional design. And design. You can tell there are choices that need to be made, editorial choices. Yes, it probably was a lot extra work to have to work on those arms, but clearly, when you're deciding what are the characteristics that make this character, right. The rolled up sleeves is clearly a defining point in this character. So a great choice made to go for that, as well as I have to say the eyepiece or the sort of the technology on the one character.
Eyepiece. Yep.
Really cool. And also, I want to shout out the purple hair. Just styled perfectly, painted so well, just really great choices to make these characters pop.
Yeah, and you're right about the design choices, and and what you see is a choice made from the animators years ago, as they were developing this show, now translating onto this, and it's really, really cool. And the white boots, and you can see, again, I'm pointing at my monitor, which you cannot see. This is what
I'm doing. It works. Speaking of design, having you where you are, it does work.
But the level of details to get the boots right, to get the paint right, and this is fine detail painting. These figures are 4.5 inches, right? They are tiny, and it boggles my mind to be able to do this level of detail, sculpting and painting, because it hurts my brain to think about what it would take to do that. But it's really exciting to see this. Basically, we're gonna, I think, figure out or finish out the whole main cast of a show done custom sculpted and painted and adapted from existing figures. And also, speaking of details, right? Go back to the one where we can see their feet, because they're standing on the communicator stands that you'll note the edges have been the sort of the communicator sides have been cut off, so even the stands represent what you see on screen.
That's really cool.
Just again, details, levels of details that we have talked about ad nauseum on these shows that you can really, really see here. And the sort of bugged out eyes. And if you'll note, if you look at the screenshot, some of the characters have more bugged out eyes than others, and that's represented perfectly on the figures themselves. So, incredible work by Matt Rudawsky. Let's look at one more Lower Deck figure from Matt, and that is our Temerian Lieutenant Kayshon, played by Carl Tart. It's pretty cool to have. It's the first Temerian in Star Trek that wasn't from the famous Next Generation episode. And so not only does he have Lieutenant Kayshon, he has Kayshon Jr., who shows up. So the little baby one, too. And that one is completely sculpted fresh. And it's such a... Mike, you laughed, but it's such a fun species.
That's that's haha laugh. That's just like a, oh, how cute. You know what I mean?
It's super cute. It's super cute. This is the species that only speaks in metaphors. And so again, the sculpting, you have to sculpt the knife. You have to sculpt the sash. You have to sculpt the hands, the level of details on the hands and the face and the forehead and the nose. this is all just completely hand done work here on this figure. And it's just, it really is sort of breathtaking, the level of work that you're able to do by hand, old school. It's really, really cool. So Matt's work on Lower Decks, really, really cool. So if you have Lower Decks figures that you want to send to us for us to show, we'll show them. I would love to see more versions of it, and we can see that, hopefully, to try to get Playmates to make some Lower Decks figures. Now, of course, we have a laundry list about 300 figures long. I think we did 80 that were just from the next gen Deep Space Nine.
That's not even getting
Voyager.
into the extended universe.
No, well, and it doesn't even deal with the more contemporary. We didn't even talk about Enterprise. We didn't talk about Discovery or Picard. So we have a big, very long wish list. But certainly the Lower Decks figures, I feel, will be really fun. I hope that they get to them. So, as we move forward, a couple of episodes ago on our customs, through our friend Kevin Lee, sent us some figures that an artist by the name of Robert Rostad did. And I mentioned on that episode, hey, Robert, if you ever see this, we'd love to know how you did some of your work. And guess what? Through the miracles of the internets, Robert reached out on the Instagram at Star Trek Toys and has some answers to how he did some of his work. And we have a little bit more to show you of his work. So I think I put in there as a reference the incredible figure that he did of Kiernan MacDuff, of the being shot with the phaser and the monster alien behind it. And we were like, how the heck did you do that? Well, guess what? Now we know the answer. So he said,
okay,
to answer your video questions, I work with small molds. Everything you notice duplicates of were sculpted, resized with hydrospan, or adapted from an existing sculpt, including some of the costume elements, boots, gloves, heads, Wrath of Khan jacket, etc. I had over 100 molds at one point. So for this, the Terminator effect you mentioned in your video was done by casting a scary head from another toy line inside a head mold that he made. Then a little cleanup and paint. So this isn't using a different head. This was casting it, molding it, and then another head, putting it together. It still breaks my brain doing that. The chest, he sculpted and painted by hand. So
really?
Yeah. That's how that was done.
Okay.
So it's a
So the amount of work we thought it took more work than that.
It took more work than we even imagined. But basically, so this is another way that artists are doing this, by using molds. And so they are able to, I don't know, kind of like you do candy or whatever. You create the negative, you fill in the resin, it dries, and then you paint it and whatever. So they're which is actually what they're doing on the toys themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly they were then. I don't know what they're doing now, but I'm assuming that they're still doing it. They're making molds and casting these things, and that's how they're making all of these adaptations and these new pieces, which is just, again, it breaks my little musical theater brain, because, like, I can write you a song, I can arrange it for you, but this feels like magic to me. So I'm so glad that he reached out, and we have a couple of figures that he has done. First off, let's take a look. From Star Trek II, we have two different versions that he did of Captain Terrell, played by Paul Winfield. And he also, interestingly, played the first Temerian, Captain Dathon, on The Next Generation. So he is a Star Trek veteran. So this is one of the figures that Robert Rostad made of Captain Terrell, as well as you can tell me what the other figure is, Mike.
Is that Boba
Star
Fett?
Trek nerd. It is, which he made, and so these are two figures that he did, I think, at different stages. So this one that we're looking at now was one that he gave to Kevin Lee, and then the previous one I think is from his own collection, and so you can see they look like they were adapted also from the Generations line. That was probably a Kirk, but with a whole bunch of other details done and resculpted with a completely custom head on both of these. So the Generations line serves as a basis for a lot of customs, which is pretty cool, because they gave us their only Wrath of Khan uniforms.
Kind of
Mike.
amazing how much emotion. There's clearly an acting beat. Maybe it's just this picture, but the frame of just his face, what is captured in time in that sculpt is clearly there's an intention behind it, which I love.
Yeah, well, and that's where you get into artistry versus replication.
Yeah.
Because when you add emotion, that's where there's art in all of it. But the great art that you see, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or whatever, you feel an emotion behind it too. Same thing with music, right? That's where the artistry is connecting the emotion to it. So really cool. So those are two takes. I'd be curious which one, having to do multiple versions of a figure. I imagine there's variation because you're doing it by hand. And as you're doing it, you have different permutations of it. It's really really cool. So let's look at another one that Robert did by way of Kevin Lee, who sent this. And this is a partially assimilated Starfleet officer from Star Trek First Contact, which is a really cool adaptation. This is a 6-inch scale, where as Mike, in lore, once the Borg come and get you, they start assimilating you immediately and turning you into a Borg. But you don't just immediately become a Borg. It's a process, right? Just like everything, it's a process. And so here we have a really interesting custom figure that incorporates sort of half Borg, half Starfleet officer, which is, certainly it's always upsetting. It's always kind of scary, and it was definitely an intense moment from First Contact, and we have this happen a couple of times over in Voyager. We see it, but really cool figure here, which is it's not some crazy big sculpt. It's a head swap from the 6-inch Borg from that line, and one of the hands transported on, and then obviously painting the his other hand there. But I think it's just a very unique, cool figure that I would have liked. Playmates easily could have made this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's capturing a very specific moment in Star Trek lore, but also just like in the movie. I think it's really cool. It's very creative, and I think it's a cool figure.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
totally.
Keith, I forget I'm on the show. I'm just watching and kind of enraptured, and then you remind me I am on the show.
See, what I was doing there is I was tossing it to you, Mike. It was it's very subtle in broadcasting.
I was
you
thinking
don't
in my
always
head,
say,
I was
and
like,
Mike, it's now your turn to talk. I sort of trail off in a leading direction.
Well, this isn't interesting. We throw the word interesting around quite a bit. No, transition, things that are a process, like transitioning to Borg or in the process of having your skin melted off, things like that, is very hard to show on a static figure, right? And so a lot of cool choices have to be made, difficult choices, I'm sure, into how to portray in static form something that is ongoing.
Yeah, for sure. Motion, emotion, and motion. It's art.
Deep,
All
man.
right. So let us take a look at another interesting figure, but this one is not just supplied by Kevin Lee. It was created by Kevin Lee. So here's where we go into details, right? We've been talking about details about on this show this whole time. And so this is an Enterprise B officer played by Tim Russ. Now, this was just a little cameo in Generations. But, of course, you're like, hey, wait a minute. Tim Russ, isn't that the guy who plays Tuvok on Voyager, amongst many other characters? Yeah, you damn right it is. And
He's got the ears on that, right?
No, he does not. See, that's the thing. He plays a human in Generations, so he has regular human ears. So in order to make this figure, Kevin had to shave off the Vulcan ears and add it, and obviously do a head swap and a paint of the rank or the division insignias there. And then you're like, but wait a minute, we've seen Tuvok in this era uniform in the Voyager flashback episode where he goes back and spends time on the Excelsior. But it actually is Tuvok because Tuvok is a Vulcan and lives for a long time. So this is not that character. This is not Tuvok in the Voyager flashback episode. This is specifically the human Enterprise B officer played by Tim Russ. It was handy because there's a Tim Russ figure out there, so you don't have to resculpt that head. You just have to take off those Vulcan ears. So it's such an interesting, again, just like going down the rabbit holes of the lore, that Kevin made a figure of the human version, not of Tuvok from the flashback episode, but representing this. And it's one of the things I love about Kevin's collection is he has a lot of figures that are representative of the smaller characters. We looked at one of the most frequent background actors and who had a figure of her. And it's just like the level of depth that if you really want to keep expanding the line, it can go out into perpetuity, which is really, really, really cool. So I just thought it was, I just love the fact that this figure exists. I love the fact that Kevin made it, and obviously it looks great. And it's just I don't know how many of them exist in the world. I don't know how many people have made a custom of this, because I'm sure there's some figures that people make customs of all the time, that never got made. But this one is a deep cut, and I love the deep cuts. All right, so before we show you and finish with a little present for Mike, we have one more figure from our good friend Chris at Retro Star Trek Customs. Now, we're going to show many more of his. I just wanted to throw one in here because this one might be my favorite, because this is one, I forget if it's number one on my dream list of figures or not, but it's definitely in the top 5. And that is a figure representing Nog in Deep Space Nine. Now, we have a Nog figure, but back when he was a little child, and it's that tiny little piece of plastic that we have shown previously that came on as a choking hazard with his father Rom. But this is later in the series when Nog becomes a Starfleet officer through the war, and it's definitely a figure that I really wish that Playmates had made, because it was such a pivotal character, played by Aaron Eisenberg, who's a phenomenal actor. And so it's one of my favorite storylines and character developments. And so here, don't worry, Chris has got it with a completely 3D modeled, his own custom sculpt, his own completely new figure here, which is stunning in all of it. And you can see it has articulation. It's painted beautifully. It looks like Nog. And he shot this, I'm assuming, using
Haze?
Some sort of a background. Yeah, he's clearly got a smoke machine in order to shoot this figure. I mean, come on. So not only is he making all these figures, he's shooting them in these incredible...
Well, he clearly knew the bump in recognition that he was going to receive by appearing on this just
Oh, yes.
enormously popular show, and so he really went all out for the for the
Yeah.
shot.
Oh, sure. Yeah. He got the KME bump. Like we've said before, if you notice no difference in any of your social media activity, you got the
The
KME bump.
bump. Keith,
Yeah.
right here.
So
Wait, don't leave me bumpless.
Oh, right. Here we go.
No, other way.
There we go. Hey, we did it.
Actually, hold on. Let's screenshot that.
Uh,
We are giant nerds. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Was that news to our audience? Doing a show about custom Star Trek action figures? I think that ship sailed. That ship definitely
Unleash
sailed.
the niche, Keith.
There it is. There's our hashtag for the day.
T-shirt it. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. So I want to finish today with some fun stuff that I opened up a package and received a whole bunch of really fun stuff from our good friend JD at JD's Customs. So this is not all that he sent. He sent a whole bunch of cool stuff, and I'm just going to spread it out. I'm going to sprinkle it in.
Okay.
But I wanted to show some of the stuff that JD has been working on and is available for purchase. So definitely check out JD's Customs. We will link down below just some of the little things that he's able to create for you. Starting off, if we go off to let's go to Toy Camp and take a look at what he has done here, because I think it's really fascinating what he has been able to create here. Because what is this?
It's a Baldric, baby.
It is a Baldric, Mike. Damn it, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You know. Here you are.
It's a ceremonial thing that the Klingons wear, Keith.
That's right. That's right. It's Worf's Baldric. Mike, when he started the show, hadn't really seen much Star Trek. And here he is.
Keith, what I have learned, though, is that in
head.
many of the figures, the Baldric is sculpted on, and I think we've both lamented that it's time we get one that is a practical piece that could be added to your custom Worfs or other Worfs that are that need it.
That's right. So here's the thing about this, right? There is one figure which has a loose Baldric. And what is that
now,
figure,
there are
Mike?
pills. There are pills for that.
I don't know if there's pills to make them less loose. Might work better, but I think they're loose. They're loose.
Yeah,
you know,
Merck's
the ship
working
sailed.
on it. Merck's in the process.
They're not getting tighter. I'll tell you that much. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize.
It's a family-friendly show, I think.
So actually, you know what? Phil, for a second, I'm going to go get it because I think I want to show this face to face.
All right. Well, it's just going to be me, you, and the Baldric people. Hey, how's it going? You know, I want to say again how amazing all of you have been to me in the comments and encouraging me to jump in. And we are. Keith and I are going to start with Deep Space Nine. And
yes,
we're going to watch the shows and give you the thumbs up and the thumbs down. So if you want to revisit, make sure to do it with us. We'll get you information on that all to come.
Once we get there. Yes. So this is the only loose Baldric that Playmates made. So all right. So fair enough. So JD just pulled this off this figure, right? He bought a bunch of these figures and just pulled them off. No problem, right? No. Because guess what? This Baldric is sized for 4.5-inch scale, not for 6-inch scale. And it's exactly perfect. It's exactly perfect. And you're like, well, how the hell did he do that? Did he cut it? Did he move it? No. So what JD did is he built a custom mold of the original and then sized it down. He actually shrank the mold in order to get it to 4.5-inch scale. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind that this is a doable thing, just like period. But that he's able to do it and it looks perfect. Look at that. And so now if I want to put a Baldric here on our resident Klingon in Voyager, hold on. Boom.
Keith, could you do it, please, in 8 frames per second? There we go. Thank you.
Totally good. Well, it's a female character, so it's going to be too big, but the concept works. It's really, really cool. And we've been talking about details, right? Sometimes the only thing missing from your custom figure is a baldric that fits a 4.5-inch scale. And here it is. It's available. It's available to you in the world because artists like JD will just make it, which is really cool. Deep cuts. We like the deep cuts. So we have another deep cut. And that is right here. It is a Ferengi bust. Apparently it's my thumb. We wait for the camera to catch up. There it is.
Hey.
It is a Ferengi golden bust.
That's cool.
Right? And you're like, where did we see that? Is it the one where Armin Shimmerman played the head in the jewel box? No. If we go to the screenshot that I sent from you before, we can see.
Oop, that's not right.
No, that's not right at all. We can see Quark.
Hold on, I'm working on it, folks. There we go.
There it is. So the Ferengi bust of the president of the Ferengi Federations, the Grand Nagus, had busts of them. So they made them for the show. It's just a quick little set dressing thing. But now it exists in Playmates form here because of JD's work. And so cool. If you have a Ferengi set that you want to dress, this is absolutely a really cool way to add detail to that. And so the question remains, how the heck did he do this one? Right? Because they're like, I recognize that mold, right? I recognize the mold because that is, we mentioned it before, the choking hazard of Nog.
Oh.
With his head cut off. But once again, I don't know why Toy Cam doesn't want to show us what's there. There it is. But that's not the right size. That's because, once again, JD created a custom mold and scaled this size up, cut it off, and reproduced and painted this. So these are just things he has available for you to purchase, folks. JD's Customs. We'll put the link in the show notes. But just like, again, details, right? How do you even think to do that? And to have the skills to create
now, Keith,
that
I think
mold.
it's important, if you do get in touch with JD to pick one of these up, make sure to get two. Keep one for yourself and then give one to a Ferengi.
Boo.
Mike's
salty that he doesn't get toys. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Mike, if you remember a couple of episodes ago in one of the customs, you're talking about one of JD's figures. I believe you mentioned turning them into a shiv. Did you not?
Yeah, a prison shiv, yeah.
Yeah, about creating a prison shiv. And
it was all in fun. Parents and friends. Just
a, one of those weird things that comes out of Mike's mouth sometimes where I'm like, I don't know what that means. But guess what? JD took one of the figures and made you your very own shiv.
Oh, well.
So,
yeah,
Mike,
okay.
You have manifested a shiv that you can give to any one of your figures if you need someone to be quiet before the trial. You now have the
were you thinking to yourself, you know what Star Trek has a dearth of? It has a lack of prison shankings. And so
it is not absent them, but it doesn't have enough for Mike.
Yeah.
So Mike,
that's funny, man.
You now have your own custom shiv. So
theoretically, you have my own custom shiv.
I'm going to give you one See, I'm gonna have to give. Look, I'm gonna, full transparency. I'm gonna have to give Mike a care package of figures so he can start his collection.
Right
and
back
so
here on the wall.
whatever your first. All right, so here's a question for you, Mike. If you had one of the figures that you've seen so far that you'd really like to have and be holding the Shiv on your shelf, who would it be? What figure would you want to give this? Who gets the honor of getting your own Shiv that you manifested from your own sarcasm into the world, and now it exists?
Well, I mean, some of those Worfs are really cool, but I feel like Worf is too honorable to shiv you.
It depends on, as we've learned from the world, it all comes with the right rationalization.
Yeah.
can
Here's
make
what I
anything.
feel, and I think my first figure, I think, has to be
Okay.
in both paying homage to my real only touch point with Trek being Next Generation, and also just how Shakespearean the shiving of a person is.
To shiv or not to shiv? That is.
It has to be. I mean, as boring as it would have to be a Picard of some sort. It would have to be Picard.
All right, so
shiving.
Picard is gonna be. Look, I saw Patrick Stewart do the Scottish play on Broadway, and that character will shiv somebody.
Oh yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that whole thing.
That was good and scary. That was a scary production. It was really good. Anyway, so Mike can no longer claim that he didn't get any toys. He doesn't have it yet in his hands yet, but he will. Someday you're going to have this. I will give you a Picard, and Picard can...
Now, out of context, if you just pulled Joe Schmo off the street and said, what is that? I'm not sure Shiv is what they would say.
Well, what does a Shiv... you're going to start some more Shiv? First off, a Shiv,
you might have
by
to throw the
definition,
explicit tag on this one. We try to keep it clean,
improvised.
but today you're
A
right.
Shiv
the Shiv
is whatever is whatever you need it to be. There is no image of a Shiv next to a the picture in the dictionary. It's whatever you could make it out of. That's what a Shiv is.
Well, there is a picture
Mike.
now, buddy. There's a picture. Oh, that's not it. There is a picture now.
There it is. Okay. Well, folks, this has been another delight. Thank you again to everybody who has sent in these pictures and giving us more information on how you're doing this amazing work. Thank you to JD at JD's Customs for the incredibly generous gifts you keep sending my way, and I will be showing more of your work. Go buy some of his stuff. Some of these incredible artists are doing custom commissions and selling stuff. Some of them are not. Some of them are just their personal collection. But definitely go check out their stuff. Follow them on their social medias. We are very grateful to you for watching. Please do us a favor. Give us the subscribe. Give us the like. We will see you back next week with another episode that I don't know what it's going to be yet. So who knows? But till then, this has been... Look at my Star Trek toys!